Our link today from LEAP, which is Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. Peter Christus here. Look at you. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm up and about taking nourishment. I guess I'm doing fine. Can I give you a little Lee Alexander thing?
Yes, quickly.
When he first got out of jail, he got in touch with Reconsider at the time. This is back in the 90s that I was a spokesperson for.
Yep.
And he got involved in the drug policy reform stuff. Because of his time in prison, it made him see the failure of this policy. And the people that he saw, he said, I remember having a conversation with him. He said, you know, I was in jail because I broke the law and I harmed people. He said, and then I was in jail with people who never harmed anybody. They just happened to sell somebody a drug that they wanted to buy. And they were sitting in the same cell I was. He said they never should have been there. So just a little Lee Alexander thing.
Really interesting. Wow. So tell me what LEAP is.
Well, LEAP is Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. It's it's my baby. I thought of the idea of a law enforcement group way back in the 90s.
Well, you're a former cop, right?
Yeah, I'm a retired police captain, and I worked for Town of Tonawanda for 20 years.
Okay.
And retired in 1989 and got involved in drug policy because I saw that this was not an effective use of law enforcement. So we formed LEAP and in 2002, so this is our 10th anniversary. And in memory of that 10th anniversary, the United States government has named this year a leap year. So I think I'm not going to get away with it.
No, you're not. No.
Anyway,
good try, though.
We have our board of directors, just to give you an example, are law enforcement people from around the United States, plus a working Vancouver cop who's on board of directors from Canada, also a retired judge from Brazil who's on our board of directors, and we just had a new board of director named, and she is worked with MI5 over in England. She's retired.
Wow.
Okay. So the reason I'm saying that is because this is not just a United States issue.
No.
This failure of this policy is a worldwide issue.
Well, but why do you say it's a failure, Peter?
Well, prohibition. Okay, when we use that word, we think of alcohol prohibition. We think that's what it means. But prohibition, capital P prohibition, is the name of a policy. And a policy that criminalizes consensual adult behavior. Okay? Things that consenting adults want to do with each other. Let's use drugs, for example. I want to sell drugs, you want to buy them, we're happy. There's no victim here. We're both happy. Okay? But the government makes it illegal. When you make that activity illegal, you create crime in your society because there was no complaining about this. There was no crime. Now there's crime. And if there's money involved in this activity, you then create violence in your society. Al Capone was not a creation of alcohol. If Al Capone was created by alcohol, then we would still have Al Capones running the alcohol industry today. But we don't, because Al Capone was a creation of the policy of prohibition. That's what created Al Capone. And that's also what gave us the St. Valentine's Day Massacre and people being shot in the streets. And this prohibition gives us 40 dead bodies beheaded in Mexico,
sure.
with no benefit. No benefit. The question I like to ask people from time to time is, and I'll ask you, do you think it is possible for us to make drugs go away?
No.
I mean, we won the war, the heroines go, we took the word marijuana out of the dictionary because we don't even use it.
Never going to happen.
Never. The drugs are always going to be here. So then the only discussion really is, who is going to control the marketplace? The prohibitionists want gangsters, thugs, and terrorists to make money off of this marketplace. Us legalizers think that it is much better in a regulated and controlled marketplace where we can set age limits, where we can set purity controls. A federal government came out with a study just a couple weeks ago, and they said that when asked if you'd smoked a cigarette in the last month, 12% of our high school age teenagers said yes. When asked if they had smoked marijuana in the last month, 23% of those teenagers said yes. Now, I'd like to point out that the one that is perfectly legal, regulated, and controlled, 12%. The one that's in the illegal marketplace, where you never have to deal with an adult to buy it or anything like that, you can get it on the street corner, that's 23%. We can change those statistics. We know what works. Education works. Gilikowski, our drug czar. By the way, Gilikowski's kind of interesting. He's the former chief of police of Seattle, Washington. And the guy that preceded him is a guy by the name of Norm Stamper, former chief of, he works with LEAP.
Oh,
so
really?
we got the past two chiefs of Seattle. One's a LEAP speaker and the other one is the drug czar.
Well, let me ask you this. when Prohibition went away, do you think that there were more alcoholics during Prohibition or after?
Well, we know statistically that there was more after Prohibition.
Okay, so don't you worry there'd be many more drug addicts after Prohibition of drugs than before?
Yes, and I'm really not concerned. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm much more concerned about the kids that are selling drugs on street corners. I'm much more concerned about the drive-by shootings and the violence on the streets, the things that we have only because we have a prohibition. Understand this. Drugs do not make people go out and shoot people. That isn't what drugs do. It's fighting over the marketplace for drugs.
No, that's true. I agree with that completely.
And that marketplace only exists
because it's
illegal.
All right, so I only have a couple minutes. What is LEAP planning on doing this year, and what do you do to try to push your point forward?
Okay, well, what we do is educate, things like this. We are also involved. There's a group in Mexico that is doing a cross-country caravan that LEAP is going to have a lot in, and there's going to be victims of the drug war, not of the drugs, of the drug war.
You better be careful down there.
On that caravan. That's going to be interesting. The website for LEAP is leap.cc, or if you just Google the word LEAP, L-E-A-P, we're the first thing that pops up. So that's a very easy way to find us.
Okay.
And it also shows that we have been around for a while in order to get #1 on the list, because LEAP's a pretty popular word. What we do is education. That's what we do. This is a long, involved process. When I met you back in the 90s,
yes.
I was saying the same stuff I'm saying now.
Yes, you were.
And I also, if you remember, I said that I as an individual, had no expectation of seeing an end to this policy in my lifetime. I figured it's going to take longer to educate the public. We had a stupid failed policy in this country for the first 100 years of our existence. It was called slavery. It was never a good idea, but we did it for 100 years. Then after we ended that, we replaced that with 100 years of segregation, which was equally a stupid idea, but we did it for 100 years. It took us that long to be educated out of this behavior. Women didn't get the right to vote in this country until 1920.
I know.
And it took us that long, 150 years, to educate the men to give them the right to vote. This is a big educational thing. And it isn't just, again, we're about being against prohibition. This isn't just about the drug issue. There's other things here. We used to have an opportunity.
Well, I don't have time. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So we'll get to that another time.
Okay.
I could talk to you, and you could talk to me for as long as I could have him on for, and he's always been that way. Thank you for coming by. It's great to see you again.
Appreciate it.